another installment of Phenomenal E.T.s here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Clifford, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, great. All right, just give me a sec here. I am your host, Tim Dalger. My guest this evening is MUFON International Director, Clifford Clift, an active member going on 17 years, now heading up the organization since February 2010. MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, is dedicated to resolving the scientific enigma known as collectively as unidentified flying objects. The scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity is their goal. With a monthly journal for members full of UFO information and chapters in every state, MUFON provides a resource center for witnesses to the UFO phenomena. Clifford is also a trainer of field investigators in northern Colorado. With weekly radio shows and broadcasts over ham radios, MUFON is devoted to educating the public about these extraordinary discoveries. So with no further ado, please welcome Clifford Clift. How are you doing this evening?
Tim, I'm very well, thank you. A very nice introduction.
Well, thank you for that. So we're going to open the phone lines further on in the show, if that's okay with you. Would you like to take some
Most
calls?
certainly.
Okay, great. Well, we'll give those call-out numbers eventually, but give us a brief description of yourself that I haven't already included in our introduction for you.
Well, Tim, I've been involved with UFOs since I was 14 years old in Colorado, in northeast Colorado, when I had my first sighting while working with the Ground Observer Corps of the Air Force. And I've been involved with UFOs ever since, but as you graduate from high school and you go to college, and then during the Vietnam era, I was drafted, so I was in the military. Then you have family, and you just don't get to do too much with UFOs. And I decided back in the early 1990s that I was going to get active again because there was just too much credible evidence going on. So I started searching for an organization that would be able to enhance my desire to do a scientific study, and the only one that I could find was MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. So I joined them, and then in 1995 is when I joined, and then in 2000 I was elected to be on the board of directors for MUFON, and then 2010 I was nominated as the international director. So I've had a strong interest and desire in the UFO phenomenon over the years, and MUFON does satisfy my desire because of our scientific studies.
Very well, great. Well, you were speaking about your first experience back when you were 14, and that brings us to our first question. Dating back, you said, to the 50s while with the Air Force Base. There's a pretty interesting background to that story. Can you please elaborate on your first sighting?
Well, yes, the United States Air Force back in the early 50s, due to the fact there was an extreme Cold War between the U.S. and Russia, or the USSR, and we each thought we were going to be bombing each other at any time. So all precautions were being made, but we didn't have the radar technology back in the 50s that we have today. So the U.S. Air Force decided to set up the Ground Observer Corps, which were people stationed all across the United States. And they would call an alert, and we would go out on a site that they had selected for us. It was a little ticket booth with a telephone and a light in it out in the country, and we would watch airplanes, report them back to our command center, which we understood it to be part of what NORAD was then. And we would report back whether they were jets, props, high, very fast, slow, all the aspects. And of course we had all of the Russian or USSR airplane pictures on our wall in the U.S. so we could identify what we were seeing. One night I was standing out there looking to the east, and it was a fall in October, and a big full moon, white fluffy clouds sparse across the sky. And something glinted in my eye to the right, and I looked, and there was this object coming from the southeast going to the northwest. It was round, like about the size of the moon. It was moving extremely fast across the sky. It took probably 10 seconds for it to traverse the sky from one to the other. Well, it was round, made no noise, and it was huge. So that kind of made my spine tingle. And I went running back to the ticket booth where my grandmother was, who, by the way, she's the one that always volunteered me for these projects. And we got back there, and I told her, and she said, are you sure? And I said, yeah. And so we got to talking, and she says, well, you call it in. I'm not. So I called it in, and I said, this is Bravo Lima Red 1. Now, I don't remember what I had for breakfast, but I remember that call sign. It was burned in my mind, Bravo Lima Red 1. So I called that and told them the Bravo Lima Red 1. And the gal I talked to said, just a moment. And she passed me on, and that one passed me on. And then it was a captain or a major. I don't remember for sure. And he took all the information from me, and then he says, well, that's what we're looking for. You can go home. Now, I don't know if he was placating me, Tim, or if, in fact, it was they knew something. I don't know.
It seems like it would be a good answer to give to a 14-year-old boy to just get his mind off of that and just, here, go play with those, don't worry about that.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that started on your mission for spotting UFOs in the sky, and then you gotten back to it in 95. But any in between there, an uptick of sightings that you've seen or that really gotten your interest peaked?
Well, there was a lot of UFO act. I followed it as much as I could. It seems as though UFO activity, Tim, happened in 47, 52, 57, 62, 67, 72. Every 5 years we would have a flap. And this seemed to be the way things were going, and there was always a lot of activity in the media about the UFO activity in the 50s and 60s, and even into the 70s, and now there's even getting to be more again. As a matter of fact, we average 500 sighting reports to us a month, and in August we had over 1,000 sightings, and then September we had 700 and some, and then 728 again last month in October. So there's something going on, but we're not real sure yet if we're having a major UFO flap or not. But we know there is in Missouri. There's a significant amount of activity in Missouri.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I was going to say, hold on there, you're getting to all my questions.
Sorry.
You're going to answer them. This is point interviews here. What do they call them? No, I'm the kind of interviewer. I ask questions. I get to know our guests and stuff, and the more I start to know about the subject, the more I can get into and talk about it with the person. We didn't have the same case last time we had a show where I wasn't familiar with the lady's work, and she could tell that, she could sense that, and I froze up. I didn't know what to do. So it ended up being a great show at the end, but she wasn't thrilled with the way it had gone because I didn't know her realm of work. And I mean, that's okay. It's all a learning experience. But anyway, so MUFON is the reporting center. It's the largest one in the world, mind you. I've reported, like, if I reported a sighting, the MUFON, what can I expect, and what are the steps that would follow a reporting? Okay,
if we have, Tim, different types of categories of sightings. We have a category 1, 2, and 3. Our category 1 sightings are the lights in the sky, a day or night, that they're not definitive enough for us to draw any scientific conclusion. We can't get depths, we can't get altitudes, we can't get speeds, size of the object, that type of thing. So those are really, really tough for us to investigate. Then we have a category 2, which is closer proximity to the UFO. And then the category 3 is where you're within 500 feet, it's hovering or landing, and that type of thing. So what happens if somebody happens to have a category 3, as an example, they would go onto our website, www.mufon.com, and there's a place to click for report a sighting. You fill out the report of sighting, and then we have people that are monitoring our website sighting, the CMS part, case management system, 24/7. They would see that come in, and then if it's Category 3, they would get a hold of what we call our STAR team manager, Fletcher Gray, and Fletcher would deploy STAR team members to do the investigation within 24 hours. So the people that submit the sighting report would be contacted within 48 hours at the latest by a special person from MUFON, the STAR team member. Now they will also report it to one of the local field investigators from the area, and the local field investigator, the state director from MUFON, and the STAR team people would get together and do the investigation of the event. So we do get back to the people just as soon as we can, and sometimes if it's Category 3 or Category 1, it might take 5, 6, 7 days, because as a matter of fact, this is a strange thing, but all of our field investigators are volunteers, and so are our STAR team members. We have some 3,000 members worldwide, and we have 3 employees. The rest are all volunteers. So this is a very significant nonprofit organization to develop what UFOs are about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've been for the past 4 years on the search for myself. I had a particular personal sighting, and I've been on the search ever since, and I can't figure it out. I mean, they haven't come down to me. They haven't revealed themselves per se, so it's still up in the air whether it's man-made or not. And if it would be, then it would be pretty interesting to know that they had the technology that me and the wife have seen, and many others who have introduced, looking up at the sky. Just continue to look up at the sky and don't take your eyes off of it. There's just overwhelming evidence that there's something out there. I just want to know where it's from, because if it is our technology, then they've got technology beyond our wildest dreams, and I know that they do have that. But to what extent is what I'm very interested in knowing.
Well, we say that, but I'm sitting here looking at a picture right now that was taken from our case files from 1961. And it's a flying saucer with portals. And it has the guy drew a picture of it, and it's absolutely amazing drawing of a craft. And it has portals in it, and the middle section was revolving with somewhat of a pink light. It was hovering between 2 houses. Just absolutely amazing case. And I go through our archives regularly, and I start running across these, and I'm thinking, holy cow, there's thousands of these reports of pictures and drawings of these craft. Well, I know for certain that in the 1950s, we did not have craft that could fly faster than maybe 1,500 miles an hour.
Yeah.
If you recall, that's when we broke the sound barrier. And this is, so for us to have the technology we may have today, which a lot of the black ops are people confused with UFOs when in fact they're IFOs, even though the government does not have any. They're not going to disclose it. No.
No.
So yeah, we do have the Aurora, which we think now goes 7,000 miles an hour, and is maybe flies around 60 to 100,000 feet. So yeah, there are some things out there, but we don't have. Even though we spend $435 billion last year on black ops budget, that's the black ops. $600 billion for the military. We're looking at $1 trillion on defense, but even at that, to have 15, 20, 30 of these craft flying around the United States would even be more money than that. So the development and the construction when it takes $1 billion to build a B-2 bomber or whatever, some ridiculous figure. It's just amazing to me that we would spend that kind of money, but Tim, that's what we do. So.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Although I do believe that we had a couple of guests on here, and Brooks Agnew with 0 Point Energy, and we're talking like no money involved with learning how to work with resonant frequencies. And if they do have that technology, which I'm sure they do, it's no more a question about money, but it's a question of let's put it out on the books that we're trying to develop and put money on black ops projects and what have you, as a front to just milk the people, and that's my humble opinion, because we're already past that. I think that we have the technology out there that is endless, and it's free energy, and it does not cost anymore, but they're not giving it to us yet. That is my opinion from what I have found, but I could be...
Well, I think you're right, Tim, but here's a major problem. If we discovered, which I think they have, energy that doesn't require fossil fuels, look at the economy. Our economy would go in the tank in a minute without the oil and gas industry and related.
Yeah, they need to know how to figure out how to do the transformation from fossil fuels, and that's the challenge right now, and they're doing that behind closed doors, I'm sure.
Hopefully.
That's the hope that we have, and I mean, we've seen the technology out there. It works. It's sort of to compare it to reality. Instead of sitting on your computer and learning, go out and go to a library and get a book and do your own information, and basically you've become all natural. You've walked, you didn't take the bus, and you picked up a real book that was written, and you didn't have a couple of clicks using energy and cost money to roam the internet and stuff, and go back to doing it naturally. And I think if we did that and worked with Mother Nature, we can get a lot more out of it other than digging for more fuels. And right now I think they're pushing natural gas as the #1 fuel source. I have seen commercials on it, and it's incredible that there are projects that are taking place that are really horrible for the planet. But we have no place to go,
That's what we have. That's what we have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Well, I just want to let our listeners know that they're tuned into Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. I am your host here, Tim Dalger, with the phenomenal E.T.s show, hosts every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week, my guest is Clifford Cliff of MUFON.com. You can find his website at the World Wide Web, and that's Clifford Clift, and you could check his website out while I interview him. And the call-in numbers this evening are 347-688-2902. That's 347-688-2902. Or, as always, a free call on Skype. You could type in Freedom Screen in the search box in Skype and add us as a friend, and we'll accept the request. And you can call in and speak with my guest, Clifford Cliff, or myself of MUFON.com. And we have more questions here from our chat room. Clifford, if you'd like to go into those, or...
Sure. Okay. Whatever is best for you.
Well, we're going to get to what's on your mind, really. I mean, you got listeners, thousands out there listening to you. If there's messages that you wanted to get across, so you can always interrupt the questions and just get right into what you have to say. We've had George Filer on a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, rather, Eastern Regional Director of MUFON. And that was my question, was basically when he had come on, there was that there was a normalcy in the reports for 500 a month, and then it just boosted in August, and I had reported on that on my show that we do here daily, reported on that. And so I found it pretty interesting that, maybe they blamed the movies. There was an uptick in extraterrestrial movies. Like, they're subtly telling us in these movies, and they either pawn it off as a joke or something that is too unbelievable to believe, but more things are going on that make us subconsciously accept the reality of extraterrestrials, and maybe there are beings out there. What are your thoughts on the movies that they've been promoting?
Well, some of them are Hollywood far-fetched type things, but I can tell you at our symposium in July in Irvine, California this year, Story Musgrave was our keynote speaker, and I think everybody knows Story Musgrave. He's the astronaut, has more trips to space than anybody else, or is tied. I think he's had 6 trips. He's the one that designed the Hubble telescope because of his science background. And when there was a problem with the Hubble, they would send him up. So Story showed us some incredible pictures of space taken from the Hubble telescope and from what he had done and cameras on board and that type of thing. He said unequivocally, without a doubt, there is life out there. There are he says there's 1 trillion planets just like the Earth out there. He said we just don't know where they are. He said they years further advanced than we are. They might be 10 years. They might be back in the Stone Age. So he did say specifically he believes there is life out there. Now, has he seen anything? No, he has not. He says, I have not seen anything that I could say was a UFO or extraterrestrials. He did say that. But the fact of the matter is he believes, as most all the astronauts do, and there was another one in attendance at the symposium, and he is an absolute staunch believer in the UFOs and extraterrestrials. So that's pretty credible. And then, of course, Gordon Cooper, another astronaut, he also had his sightings in 1950s when he was a jet pilot in Germany. He said they would see him going over the top of them higher and faster than what they could get to and higher and faster than what the Russians could get to. And he said they were definitely not identified. And then he had at Edwards Air Force Base, they had an event where his camera crew, he was back in the States then, and he was in charge of a camera crew that was filming the landing gear of a new prototype aircraft to make sure that the landing gear was working properly. And he came in one morning and sent the crew of cameramen out to just set up and get going, and they came back in about 15 minutes yelling and screaming that they took a picture of a UFO landed within 300 feet of them on the runway. A flying saucer came down and 3 landing gear came out, set down, and they went over to it, taking pictures all the time. They went over toward it and they got a little closer and it took off again and just sped right off. They came running back into Gordon Cooper and asked him what they should do, and he said, "Did you take pictures?" And they said, "Yeah." So back in the 50s, early 60s, maybe even today, every Air Force base had a UFO officer that you reported to. And so he called the base commander and got the number, and they gave him a number in Washington. He called that number. The number that he called, they told him, develop the pictures, do not keep a copy of them, and forward them to me, or forward them to the Pentagon. So that's what he did. But he said he did look at the pictures. And he said it was a flying saucer with 3 landing legs sitting on the runway. So that happens. Of course, Edgar Mitchell is a strong believer in the extraterrestrial presence. And Buzz Aldrin has a lot of questions about the UFO phenomenon, and he's even talking about a moon that's on Jupiter, I believe, that
has life.
That has, it has a 1,000-foot tall monolith structure.
Yeah, they were taking. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, when your astronauts believe that they exist,
you better believe
when
it.
Top government officials, people that retire from the military, then start coming forward. I'm looking at some of our cases from the 60s, and we've got people that retired in their 90s from the Air Force, a lieutenant colonel that had a jet intercept with a UFO over Waco, Texas, and he and his navigator or radar operator in the back seat both tell the same story. They both, what they saw, and it's, so there's just too much evidence from credible people.
Yeah, too much overwhelming evidence, footage, thousands upon thousands of hours. We've had past guests, UFOs over Phoenix, Jeff Willis, who took part in some of your conferences that you've had. That you have annual summer conferences, and he was there along with Bob Dean. And we hope to get Bob Dean on sometime soon, but speaking with his wife right now, and it takes time to get them on. You know, we can't just do it overnight, but definitely you're trying to get the word out there, and I greatly appreciate organizations like yourself, and it brings in the questions of the government support, because we all know that their government's releasing our UFO files, Canada being one of them. And I do check that out. The U.S., I know that they have some files on them that are released to the public, but it's not on a major scale. What did we have last year? The UFO Disclosure Project on 2010 to September 27th, the National Press Club held a UFO conference, disclosure conference on CNN, followed by that half-predicted UFO sighting in New York on October 13th, whatever was in the sky that day. But mainstream media is covering these events more and more. I'm just wondering when the government is going to get fully on board with it.
I wish we could come to some conclusion, because under the Freedom of Information Act, the FOIAs, they do not respond, especially since 9/11. Everything's a national security, so they're not releasing anything. And if you do get something from them, it's redacted so bad that there's the words "the," "at," "is." They're not. But you know, what can you get from that? And it's just crazy, the secrecy about this within the United States. But I guarantee you, there are photographs from gun sight cameras on aircraft, from Gordon Cooper's event, all up through the space shuttles of UFO activity, that if that was ever released, well, they're not going to release it, because then the military is going to say, yeah, they do exist, but there's nothing we can do about it. Now, when you're giving somebody $1 trillion a year and they don't have an answer, they got egg on their face.
Yeah, I don't think they have it in any of their best interest to release that information. We would have to rewrite history books. We would have to go in and change our whole thought process of everything, and we would have no more faith in the government, like you had said, in the military. And I don't think it's going to happen. So my question is, are we, chasing a dead, what's the term here? I'm French, dead rabbit. We chasing our tails here, running around in circles, never gonna. Yeah, I don't know. I'm French. I apologize.
Well, when you say French, Tim, that's very good, because the French, I believe it's 4 retired generals have set up their own UFO research organization, because they believe they exist, and they are doing, these 4 generals are doing the same thing MUFON's doing, but they're doing it in France. And we do have French members from France that belong to our organization, because we're international, but the French military believes they exist, and they're willing to talk about it. Belgium, same way. Chile.
Brazil and all those countries, southerner countries.
Yeah, just on and on and on, that are stepping up and saying, yeah, what's going on? They do exist. This is what we've got.
So it'd be a really good question on why we have, James Cameron. I think he's been quoted as one of the best historians of our time, because he documents all these in real life. And he has a library that is just filled with information that I think he was quoted as one of the best historians of our times. So it's the movies that they're subtly indoctrinating us to accept them. I don't understand why they haven't just yet, but it's not me to decide if we're ready. Maybe it's them. It brings into question why they haven't. It frustrates me. I'm sure it frustrates a lot of members of your organization, why the government doesn't want to pick up on this and just be done with it. Just open the airwaves and let's start this communication, this talk, because they're obviously around us. There's just too much information, overwhelming, too many first-hand real accounts, abductions, too many cases, crop circles around the world, that it's overwhelming. Don't you think?
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
And one of they keep saying that one of the problems is it would destroy the religions of the world. Well, when you say they, who is they? That's always a nebulous number or something. But Dr. Ted Peters spoke at our convention or our symposium, and he talked about, will ET contact end world religions? Well, no, it won't. As a matter of fact, they have done surveys of Christian clergymen or clergy people across the United States, and overwhelming majority of them said that it wouldn't, and they seem to believe that if they do exist, they're our space brothers. It's fine, no problem. And we're all created equal, and we're all created by God. So that's what they believe. But the people that I was talking about, sociologists that are not religious, are saying that the religious people couldn't handle it. Well, how do they know? They haven't even talked to them. So we have people deciding for us what's best for us when they don't even know who us is.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's a very good point. And we do have a caller on the line, Weisenberger. Sorry,
hey.
Berg. How you doing, Mike? Yeah, Weisenberg.
Good.
Great.
Cool. Hello, Mr.
Great.
Mr. Clift. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah,
what was your name again? Oh, I'm sorry. You're not supposed to say that, are you?
Heisenberg.
Okay.
Heisenberg. You should recognize that. It's kind of a two-part question. I know you've got a lot of photographs, more than likely, all kinds of photographs people have taken. And I guess the two-part question is, we've all heard you've got your discs and you got the tubes, but I guess part one is, what's the most bizarre photo you've ever seen as far as like a shape of a craft? And then the second half of that would be, are there any that have ever been photographed that are organic instead of metallic?
Okay. That is a difficult question, and let me explain why. We are seeing, and we have seen since the 60s, a plasma-type object that can morph in and out of different shapes, not like into humans necessarily, but into the shape of a different type of craft. So I don't know if you would consider that metallic or organic, but it appears to me it might be an organic part. The most bizarre photos that I have seen are the ones that I have seen that come from 1930s and 40s. And the reason I say they're bizarre is because they're taken with old Brownie Hawkeye cameras. That's from the sound of your voice, you probably aren't familiar with the Brownie Hawkeye.
I'm assuming it's pre-Polaroid, but I understand what you're talking about.
It's way pre-everything. It's the box. And
the box with the hood.
Well, no, it's more advanced than that. There's no hood.
Oh.
So some of those photos really intrigue me because they were around even before the 40s, when in the 40s during World War II, when the Foo Fighters started their activity. So it predates that, but I would say that probably are the most exciting ones to me, and I don't know why, they just are.
But do you have any specific, I know with your research you've got all kinds of the calls coming in and reports coming in, but do you have, like, say your average is 300 a month, and if all of a sudden you spike up to 500 a month, if there happened to have been a UFO movie that came out that month, do you have like some kind of a algorithm you use to discount a certain number of those, or do you actually go out and check all of them?
No, that's a really good question, and as a matter of fact, we average 500 a month. In August, we had over 1,000. But the majority of the sighting reports were sent directly without going through our computer to our website and using our case management system came directly to headquarters, so those were incorporated into that too. But what the sighting reports were about were events that happened in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. They aren't anything current. The majority of the new sightings, above 500, were old sighting reports. So people, what we feel is because of these TV shows about MUFON, they found out, wow, I can report that sighting to these folks. And, of course, we maintain anonymity of a witness if they desire, so they don't have to disclose who they are. And I think that's helped, too, because some of the reports, the people are saying, keep my name quiet. I don't want anybody to know about this. Okay, that's fine. We don't have a problem with that.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of stigma involved with it.
Yeah, well, there does seem to be a lot of stigma involved with it. And it's kind of crazy to think that, well, here's what happens. We get a sighting report. I just got one the other day, and the people said they didn't want their name disclosed. And then a friend of mine sent me the newspaper from their local town with their name plastered all over seeing a UFO. So I don't know. You wonder sometimes.
Right.
I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Oh, yeah, it did. It did. I just was, because I know that, well, I don't think there was anything in August. I was trying to think back, and I'm like, let's see, Battle of Los Angeles DVD, did that come out in August? Because I was wondering, you know, I guess the question would be is when these movies come out, do you see an uptick?
Oh, definitely.
In the reports that you get? Oh, okay.
Yes, definitely. Now, for an example, I believe it was the History Channel, Discovery Channel ran 3 shows about MUFON in August and September, and I think maybe in October. And it's all about MUFON and how we investigate sightings. There were 3 separate shows. And that, I think, is what really got people excited. Because in the summertime and the fall, everybody's watching reruns anyway. So they're watching stuff they wouldn't normally watch, and here's these UFO shows.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to consider there's people out there that have had, well, like you said, a lot of the reports that are coming in now are from long time, decades ago. And it might be that, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, I remember this, but I wouldn't know who to tell, and I don't know who to trust. And, you know, you get something on the History Channel, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, maybe that's somebody that'll actually pay attention to me and not send me to a loony bin or point at me and laugh.
Right.
Well, thanks for answering my questions.
You bet. Thank you for the very good question. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Great, thanks. All right, we do have area code 631. You're on the air. Area code 631. All right. Maybe they forgot to unmute their microphone. Well, that was a great call from W. Heisenberg. I always pronounce his name as Weisenberg because he's such a wise guy. He's from our chat room here. He is. He's a good guy. He's from our chat room here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Come and join us here if you're listening in. We got a wonderful chat room here filled with like-minded people sharing thoughts and ideas and news links and up-to-date information on earthquakes and keep you busy for days. So do come and join us at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And this is the phenomenal E.T.s with host Tim Dalger and guest Clifford Clift of MUFON.com. The call-in number is 347-688-2902. That's 347-688-2902. And we've got more questions here piling up in that chat room. So thanks for coming down and posing them, and I'm going to get to them in momentarily here. I'll pull them up here for you, Clifford, unless there was anything on your mind that you'd like to discuss.
No, you know, one of the things I would want to mention is that we really need investigators, trained field investigators. And once a person joins MUFON, they can become a field investigator. It requires them taking an open book test and passing a public criminal background check, but public records. And we just really need to have more investigators. The people in Missouri, for an example, right now are just covered up with all these sightings. So, yeah, if anybody wants to be an investigator of UFOs, they need to get in touch with us.
That's what I was going to ask you. Me being here from Toronto, Canada, how would I go about it? And you just answered that, and I greatly appreciate it because I myself, I do deal with this on a daily basis, nightly basis when I go out and I do see these UFOs, and I want other people out there to know they're not alone, and there's organizations out there that report it, and the reason for your reports. Maybe you can explain the real reason why you guys report and accept those reports and take them down, because I have my own reasons, but go ahead and explain what that organization really does for us.
Okay, well, our mission statement is the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. And our goals are education, investigation, and research. When we have, being a nonprofit, where obviously donations are how we survive, and when we get enough money to do the things that we need to do, we can get more information out to the public. But one of the difference between our organization, Tim, and most of the others, like the UFO Reporting Center, okay, you report your UFO sighting. Well, that's the end of it. You report it to NICAP, or you report it to anybody else. We are the only ones that have the scientific ability to investigate the UFO sightings. And we can get to the bottom of this if we have enough people reporting their sightings to us and enough field investigators to go out. Our STAR team people have Geiger counters, magnetometers, gravitometers, density checking devices, infrared goggles. They have everything. And then we don't provide that. They provide it themselves. But nonetheless, it's those are the kinds of things that we do when we go out. We have the ability to stake out the ground and take soil samples, and we have labs that we work with to check out the soil samples or the trace element samples if they happen to leave some behind. So that's what we try to do, and then we can come to some type of conclusion, and we're working hard toward that, but it's steady, one step forward and two back sometimes.
Yeah, that's what it is. But personally, I mean, it's great that we have organizations to run to. It's like we said, it's overwhelming information, and a lot of people, more and more people, are witnessing them. And the shows they're just doing, like on History Channel, all these ancient alien shows and all these other ones that are just incredible. The information is getting out there, and it's almost like we're fighting a lost cause, a lost battle when we're up against the government. But I don't think we need them to acknowledge what we see. And if we can only just, get that out of our system and work together with like-minded people, organizations, radio shows, websites, what have you, we're more than likely going to be able to get our confirmation through them than we will the government. And I think it's more like we need to be ready for it, emotionally, mentally, physically. I don't know so much what they require of us, but they're here. And I don't know, some people were talking, I mean, my last guest was speaking that they were in the 9th dimension, some of them, the Nibiruans coming, what have you, and that there are creatures that are in different dimensions than us, so even if they were here, we might not even be able to see them. So it's just, there's so much out there, and we're just not even a drop in the bucket. We're not even a thought compared to everything else that's out there. We have to start investigating it.
Yep, there is some indication that they may be interdimensional. And how else can you explain radar contact with an object that's within 12 miles of a jet on a collision course, and the next second the object's gone, and in the next second it's 60 miles a different direction.
Yeah.
And the pilot sees it's there, then it's gone, and it's over here. Now, I don't know how they move that fast, or if it's actually a physical movement. Maybe it's something different than that.
Well, they were talking about Project Bluebeam, and a lot of that, and 3D images of towns across China, and they look so real. And the technology exists, and maybe it was used in 9/11 as a ploy for the airplanes, and that's just speculation. But it seems like if they are trying to imitate extraterrestrials, maybe they're trying to do it to scare us into joining the government side, and that's when you're really getting into deep down into it, and people who haven't even seen a UFO would just call you crazy. But it starts when you start to dig and you get deeper down the rabbit hole, you start to understand what they have to lose, the government has to lose by telling us this information, and what we have to benefit. So then that right there brings in the questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a big dilemma. We may never know until, as long as
we don't know.
They can.
As soon as we pass this physical body, physical vessel, we will find the truth, and we will be reunited, and I believe that.
Yep.
Great. Okay,
yep.
So we'll go on to some more questions. Okay, so what percentages of these UFO reports are man-made, which debunkers tend to hold on to very tightly? Oh, it's man-made, it's man-made. These reports that you get, how do we know man-made or not?
Well, that is really a good one. But what we do is we check with the FAA, we check with NORAD, we ask with a FOIA, and we get radar contact of the objects from the FAA, and we are able to evaluate different aspects because of radar, ground observation, and aerial observation by pilots. And when we're able to compile all of that information, then we can determine whether or not it might be a
man-made
aurora or man-made or that type of thing. But, that's a good question. And, Tim, I don't have the answer as to what percentage of our sightings are man-made.
And I don't mean to call you out on it. It wasn't that kind of question, so don't take it like that. I was
I just don't know. I wish I did.
Yeah, no doubt, and like you said, the more you can get reporters to join and become a member, the more you'd see, the more utilities, the more arms, the more access you have to getting that information. The more people.
Yeah, I can say this: 80 to 90% of all of the sightings that we get are probably we can determine are some natural phenomenon, or planetary, or astronomical, or some natural thing. That's just we can eventually prove that type of thing. An investigation doesn't happen just like once in a night or 2 nights. It takes us maybe on a good case, it take us maybe a month to really come up with the answer. But nonetheless, of the 500 sightings we get every month, we can determine that probably 400 of those, maybe 450, are something benign, IFOs, identified flying objects, that type of thing. But there's always anywhere from 5 to 10% that are just unbelievable. We average 14 landings a month reported to us. We average 4 reports a month of entities seen on the ground. So, I don't know that we have these little people 3.5, 4 foot tall flying these airplanes around and landing them in fields. I don't think that happens very often.
Well, you know what? I think all it takes is one report to be real, and you can get 1,000 of them. That's okay, because eyewitness account is the worst kind of testimony in court, and that's what they claim. I would beg to differ, but that's okay. All you need is one report, and if one report out of those 500 are real, we've got something really interesting on our hands, and we ought to investigate. And if the government is taking all this money and putting it in these projects and not telling us about it, to do these researches. We commend them. Do the research. Get that information, but tell us about it. And, you know,
Exactly.
stop taking our money and not telling us what you're doing with it, because it doesn't have to do with oil and taking control of the Middle East. We need to get rid of oil. That's the whole reason why these wars exist, and religion and oil are like the #1 contributors, and it's just incredible. If we stop this going for something and we started free energy, well, then I have something that you have and I can't take it because you can get it everywhere. And
Right.
when we stop that, we stop the greed. I believe we need to start changing our thoughts about that. No, great, very good. MUFON hosts many conferences across the United States. In fact, one of them coming up on December 3rd in Tennessee. You can visit MUFON.com for further details. Clifford, can you explain what would take place at this particular event and some like it?
Well, what we try to do at our conferences, now we have one international symposium annually, but each of the states, Tim, will not all of them, but many of the states will hold their own UFO conference, or sponsored by MUFON. And they will bring in speakers like Travis Walton comes to mind. He's been big on the circuit lately. Travis Walton was the abductee from Snowflake, Arizona. And we will have Stanton Friedman, who's, I believe he's from Nova Scotia. He's up close in Canada anyway. One of the foremost authorities on UFOs, and they'll have various speakers from various disciplines, PhDs in religion. They might have be somebody that's involved with, like Barbara Lamb, does one on human E.T. hybrids.
Yeah.
And Jim Sparks talks about time travel, and Linda Moulton Howe, E.T.'s time travel and self-activating machines is what she talks about. And, of course, you know George Filer. And then we had Joseph McMoneagle. He's retired Army, and he is a remote viewer and one of the best ones. So we have a lot of great people involved with our conferences that have a wealth of information. Yeah,
you're right. You're absolutely right. Barbara Lamb was on our show a few weeks ago talking about that very subject, and to get these people all together at a conference is just it goes without saying that it's a great opportunity for like-minded people who are trying to get that information. Right. So I do suggest if anyone wants to visit MUFON.com, they can learn about this one in Tennessee coming up December 3rd, and I do encourage that because it opens up more doors for people. And that's what we're all about. I'm sure that you're about the same deal at MUFON, because that's just the way it is. All right.
One of the things that I would like to say real quickly, Tim, and this is really an exciting thing that we have just done. Tonight at midnight, Eastern Standard Time, we are introducing an iPhone application that will allow people to see what MUFON's all about, report sightings off of their iPad or iPhone. They can find out all kinds of information about UFOs.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of the hottest iPhone apps that we have. I think everybody's going to be on board with this one, because you can see where the latest sightings are. We've got a map on there, and it's just a world map, too.
You have to move with the flow of technology, and that is a very, very good step, a very wise step, because the easier you make that information accessible, the more people will open up their mind. And it's like you said, your nonprofit organization, it's not about the money. Right now, we're at a war with ourselves to get that. We need to make that connection out there. And we don't know what will happen. I don't know what's going to happen if we do meet them. I just know that we have to stop what we're doing and warring with each other and start looking out to the skies and, you know, exploring. I mean, we're what, 7 billion people now. I know we can fit a lot more people on this planet, but they're talking about exploration. And there was what did they do, a test? They put some astronauts in a room for, what was it, 500 days, because that's how long it took to get to Mars or something. So we're taking those steps. We just need to start, you know, looking out there. Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the strange things that I get people say, you know, if these things really exist, why don't they land on the White House lawn? And I said, well, they get shot.
Yeah.
I said, that's the first thing that people on Earth do. If they don't know what it is, shoot it.
Yeah.
So that's you know, they're not going to jeopardize their existence for that. So that's just crazy. But that anyway, we're a warring nation. We're warring nations, and it just seems like if we're not fighting, we're not happy.
Yeah, exactly. And if you spoke to every single one person individually, if we should be at war, we would all disagree with it. But I think
now that the politicians now.
Well, yeah, because they have something to gain from it. But it's like my dogs. They got a pack mentality, and you get them one by one, they're lovely things. You get them in a pack, and they're terrorizing the block. And that's that idealism, I think, is the same deal with when you get a whole bunch of soldiers, and you tell them who's the bad person, and you put a picture and you put a face on that, and you make them go out there, and you make them rage and war, and you just lose that. You're so disconnected from what you should be doing as a human being. And I mean, I just took a trip, and I saw a couple of plaques where they were honoring veterans, and it's Veterans Day tomorrow, and I do appreciate what we've gotten because of our veterans, and I don't take that away. I wish that it didn't have to happen that way, and a lot of people have lost their lives going to war, and it's just needless. And if you never had to go to war, you would have never been in the predicament that you're in. And we need to stop making that excuse where, well, we need to go and invade countries because we need to conquer so that we can, you know, gain our freedom. Well, what did they do? They actually took away our freedoms because of it, because supposedly Al-Qaeda was jealous of our freedoms, and they came over and they destroyed our towers and what have you. So that what they did is they took away our own freedom in turn for it. So it was just a big mess up, and I think we should have looked at the bigger picture instead of kept our, you know, gung-ho.
Jerk reactions, that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. So more questions from our chat room here. I just want to let our listeners know, I'm going to take a station ID here momentarily. I haven't gotten word from our producers, so I will just go right into it. Give me one quick second here. Wet my whistle, and I suggest you do the same, Clifford.
Okay.
I just want to let our listeners know they're tuned into another episode of Phenomenal E.T.s here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. We've got a wonderful website here filled with information to keep you busy, a link list the size of my arm. It's incredible the amount of work put into this station by Hawk, the owner, and supports by Kevin and Joey and myself and others in the chat room. Randy and our moderators are just such great people in our chat room here that we're such a great family. I need you guys to know that you need to come down here and check us out, because we're all about getting the truth out. That's what we do here, and we don't claim to know it. We're claiming to experience it and research it, and then we get together and we share our opinions, and we don't discourage interactions. Call-ins, you can call in and speak about anything that's on your mind relating to the subject at hand, and we encourage it, in fact, and that's what this platform is there for. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com is 100% listener supported. You won't hear radio commercials pushing Enzyte like I've heard on other stations, and it's just incredible amount of time wasted trying to sell you something when you don't need to work like that. We're 100% listener supported, and our bandwidth and our phone lines do cost a little bit. So if you can, please click that donate button in our chat room. We'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to stay anonymous, you can always mail to Hawk, and you can check out that at our website. We've also have $50 radio shows. Clifford, if you're interested, we also have radio shows that we're opening up. You can host your own radio station. It would be truly yours with an own chat room for $50 a month, and that is under Hawk, the owner of the radio station's wing, and he'll take care of you. So, so if you're interested in that, any of our listeners out there, please come to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com and speak with Hawk one-on-one, and you can get a little bit more information upon that. Also, you can purchase a banner for $25. Banner ads here at the top of our chat room do flash every 30 seconds, so it's a great platform to get your word out. Justin from our chat room is doing the same, and a couple of other people taking advantage of that, and that's only $25 a month, so we do encourage that. And in that chat room, like I said, with like-minded people, we have a list of our past shows, our archives, and you can check that out for a nominal fee and get of Echoes, Hawk's band CDs. I think there was 3 or 4 of them in there, so that's like a complimentary addition to your archive enrollment, and you'll get all the past shows and all the shows to come for about 6 months, I do believe. And just underneath that, we have the T-shirt and swag section, because not too many people understood what swag meant. It just meant gear. It just meant supplies. It meant wallets, T-shirts, mugs, aprons, cooking aprons, what have you, all with Revolution Radio imprinted on them. So if you'd like to promote our station and help support, that's a great way to do that. And we have a revamped schedule. I suggest you check that out, because great shows like this evening, Wolf Spirit Radio will be on after the Crow Report at 10 p.m. this evening. So do look for that. And like I said, a bunch of stuff in our chat room to check out. So join us, freedomslips.com. My guest this evening, MUFON Director Clifford Clift. And you can check him out at MUFON.com. And the call-in number is 347-688-2902. And we do have Clifford here for another 9 minutes. And then we will answer, we'll get to some more questions from our chat room here, Clifford, if that's okay.
Sure, most certainly, Tim.
Okay, great. All right. So what is MUFON working with the government? Maybe we can get some, maybe then we can get somewhere.
Is MUFON working with the government?
Yeah, on your information and your sightings.
Oh. No. No, nothing would tickle me more than if they would send us sightings, but they don't seem to acknowledge our existence, so I guess that's okay.
Yeah, they don't want to acknowledge mine except for when it comes time for taxes. Then they want to know.
Yes, right.
Then they want to know all about me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, but the UFOs are a secret, I guess, to the government's side of things. The UFOs are a secret. They don't want us to know about them. What does Clifford know of the Travis Walton case?
Well, nothing more than his book, listening to his talks, and talking with him personally. Travis is, in my opinion, a straight-up, honest guy, and I think I think it really did happen, and I think that it didn't happen the way it did in Fire in the Sky movie that they did about him, but of course that was Hollywood sensationalism. But Travis is just a wonderful man, and he is very open about it when he talks about it, but it's hard to say. I think he's still suffering from the effects of the abduction, and I think it still bothers him, but I would be bothered too, I think.
Travis Walton, I'm not familiar with the particular name, but I am a fan 100% of that movie, Fire in the Sky, and because I've seen it when I was so young, I had no idea who he was, and now I got the name Travis Walton. Is he still available for interviews?
Oh yeah, heavens yes, yeah. He would be a great guest for you.
You're preaching to the choir at this moment. I watched that movie when I was 6 years old, and
well, the movie, honestly, Tim, the movie
wasn't
sensationalized.
Yeah, okay, it wasn't the real story, but it was based off of him. Okay. Incredible, because I do want to find out further about that story, and we've got more questions about that app here. Why don't you take it to Android, and what are the apps going to be called?
UFO Connect.
UFO Connect.
Yes, and we will. We're going worldwide with it tonight at midnight, and it's an Apple product. So currently, it's just on the Apple. We are going to introduce the Droid in, I believe it's May.
Okay.
But we're just starting at this point with the Apple products, the iPhone and iPad.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my old school phone to work because all these new ones here, they're just too complicated. So you might not catch me on board.
I know.
They are getting too complicated, too many digits. They cost too much money. And I don't agree with it. But I have to buy into the system because it's user-friendly.
Yeah.
You know, the more expensive ones at least. Okay.
Yeah, that was a good question. UFO Connect is what our iPhone app is, and it's going to be 3 modules. The first module is coming out tonight at midnight, and then the second one in a couple of weeks, and then the third one will be in 2 weeks. So within a month, we'll have all 3 modules up and going.
Great. Perfect.
But it's a great one. As a matter of fact, Apple said that this is one of the best, if not the best, iPhone application that they've put out.
No doubt. Well, maybe they've told that to their first-time customer, maybe.
Well, that may be too. That may be too.
No, I'm just yanking you, Clifford. There.
Yeah, that's all right.
We have to have a laugh here. Can't always be serious.
That's right.
Okay, what do you think about fact or fiction on the Sci-Fi Channel? How accurate do you think something like that can be? I guess maybe if you've seen the show or not.
Honestly, I haven't seen it.
And they just show you UFOs or paranormal situations, and they tell you if it's fact or faked and stuff like that. But they had Jeff Willis on, and Jeff Willis was at one of your symposiums or one of your conferences there. So it's got to be somewhat credible because they've validated his story.
Well, that's the one thing that's really difficult with UFO activity, Tim, is how do you prove somebody's right or wrong?
Yeah.
So therefore, it opens up the door to people saying all kinds of things because they may believe that, but you can't prove them wrong because it's their beliefs.
It's what they've seen. You're absolutely right. More questions here if we got you for 4 more minutes.
Sure.
Okay. Have UFO sightings been increasing in the last year?
Yes, they have.
Okay. Great. Questions.
Yeah.
Most pictures of UFO-looking, period, then they seem to change with age. And most pictures of UFOs look, I don't know what they meant by period, then they seem to change. Oh, okay. The older school pictures of UFOs looked really like, can machines and really like done up. And now the new age ones are really looking like, Heisenberg said, more natural.
More organic.
Organic, yeah, exactly. Can you explain why?
No, it's strange how this has happened over the years, Tim. In the 40s and 50s, it was the flying discs and the cigars. Then they started coming into the triangular craft in the 60s and 70s. And then now people are talking about the orange orbs and the orange fireballs. Well, that's not new. I'm giving a talk at the UFO conference in Arizona at Scottsdale in February, and I'm doing some research on some of the things. And one of the things that we're doing right now is we're starting a scientific research study on orange orbs and the orange fireballs. This is not new. This happened back in the 50s and 60s and the 40s. So that's the orange orbs is not new. One of the things that we're finding is that we're finding more reports of people saying they're seeing white orbs being very close proximity, not very big, maybe like the size of a medicine ball or a basketball. And they seem to have a life of their own. As you approach them, they'll back up. If you move, they move with you, like they're observing you. I'm not so sure that the technology of the E.T.s isn't improving too.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's very good. Well,
I don't think they're static.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how about this? Any final thoughts here? Because we do have to cut the interview short. So, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, there isn't, Tim. I do appreciate what you're doing. I do appreciate your audience for being understanding about the UFO phenomenon. And I would appreciate if they could all go to MUFON and become a member and become a field investigator, because we're in dire need of field investigators.
Very well, then.
So we've got a lot of activity going on right now, and the more people we can get to study it, the better.
Yeah, and they can visit your website at MUFON.com, and
right.
there is a host of information there to get people started to becoming a member. So I greatly appreciate, Clifford Clift, you spending time with us, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Tim. Best of luck to you, and keep looking at the sky.
Thank you. Great.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
And that was Clifford Cliff of MUFON.com here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And we are going here for another 45 minutes with open lines, open discussion here about phenomenal extraterrestrials. My show was presumably going till 9:30. However, we don't have that news block for the moment being, so that's okay. I can push it, and that's what we do here at Revolution Radio. That's what we do, freedomslips.com. Come and join us in the chat room. The phone lines are open. They've been open for spoofers. They've been open for real legitimate questions, such as W. Heisenberg. So do call us. 347-688-2902, 347-688-2902. Thanks a lot, Randy. Hell of a guest here from our chat room. I definitely was looking forward to this one since I had George Filer on a few weeks ago, or a few months ago. Everything seems like it was yesterday. Time's flying really fast on me now. I don't even know what tomorrow will bring, but it's just the way it is, and it just seems like, so since George has been on, I was really interested to speak with the international director, and that'd be Clifford Cliff, and I am just putting him under Ralph Ring and Jalila Starr, who were my past guests. And I like to do a tally, and it's just for my own benefit, so I don't call them again and say, hey, would you like to do an interview with us, like it's the first time. But maybe what we could do is, I think this full month here of November, even going into December, I have guests booked up for every Thursday. And what I had to do is pull in, ask Hawk if I can pull a Monday night show to get some guests, and then he was, no problem, we got a space open. So that's what I did, and I brought Jalila Starr on last Monday, or this Monday rather. It felt like so long ago, because I had a huge trip, and I can explain that to you. I just took a huge trip, and feels like years ago, but like I just said, everything feels like yesterday, so I contradict myself sometimes. That's okay. Next Monday, this Monday coming up, I do have Steve Beckhow. You can find him at his website, stevebeckhow.com, the Occupy 2012 scenario. Wonderful website. You can check that out. He'll be on Monday, 10:30 after the market report, the daily market report. On Monday night, Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 Central. And next Thursday, now this is a pretty interesting story. Do give me a second here. Sorry for that. What is going on? Do apologize for the mix-up here. I do have next Thursday, Joe of the PyramidCenter.org. Funny story behind that. I was trying to get a hold of Mr. Jordan Maxwell, who is pretty famous in the UFO realm. the underground world, and talking about Illuminatis and numbers and symbols, and there's meanings to all of this, and you just need to really look into it. And trying to get a hold of him, his webmaster responded, and so I thought I was speaking to Joe and Joe responded, so I thought it was him. I said, let's get you on, and he was willing to go, and it turned out it's not Jordan Maxwell, but it's Joe of the Pyramid Center. So I said, well, that's very interesting, because then that maybe adds to our ammunition here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and if he would like to join us, and he said, sure. So he will be on with us next Thursday, so that would be the 17th of November, followed by Mr. Paul Hellier the next Thursday following, and then moving into December, we have Lucas of the Rabbit Hole and Paula Harris. Great interviews coming up, so do check that out at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and the Phenomenal E.T.s show. And I had no idea where this show would go when I first started. To be honest with you, I think I got more than I bargained for. I had no idea it was a weekly thing, and I just started, hey, could I do a UFO show, an ET show, and it just started off of that, and my first guest would have been James Gilliland, the only one I knew who could interview right away, in the sense, because I knew him. He's a great friend, and we do communicate a lot, so I figured, yeah, let's get him on. And I think I set the bar really, really high, in my opinion, because I had no idea who else I would get on to top that. I was just clueless. I just first started hosting these shows, and then the ball just started rolling, and got a lot of confidence and good remarks from Hawk and Kevin from our chat room, and we were making a cool thing of this, a weekly thing of this, and I greatly appreciate the platform that I got. And here we go with the calls, and I can just put my money on who it's going to be. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to, you said you were open to all, opinions and suggestions and whatnot, and I just wanted to see, what your opinion would be on, this whole Wall Street protest thing has come awful close to home here, and I was wondering your opinion on that. I mean, do you think that will start more madness, or?
Where's close to home, if you don't mind?
Dayton, Ohio, sir.
Dayton, Ohio. You're not too far from myself here, Toronto, Canada. We got our Wall Street, our Toronto Stock Exchange. They're on the main strip there, and there's over 600 tents there. What was your question here? I mean, I got opinions about it. What do you?
I mean, just for the whole, let's say, how everything is, going nuts with the whole planet and the government and whatnot. Do you think that's going to, enforce any type of military action upon anyone here soon, or?
Well, I actually believe that they have been gearing up military-wise for the past few years. We've been noticing an uptick. This Occupy movement has started, I think, a few months ago, and only in Toronto for the past month consecutively. But I'm not sure exactly which city it did start, Occupy Wall Street, and then they moved right over to California. So I don't know how long it's been going on for. And what our mayor had said for Toronto is, he said he's letting the marches go on, the protests, because they're peaceful demonstrations. And I mean, you figure that's a great comment. It's what you want to hear from your mayor, that these are peaceful protests, because in the end, we want to stop the government corruption, the banking fraud, and the banking system that goes along with the war industry. And altogether, we're not doing this to start war. But yes, like they have been gearing up for these potential protests that can turn deadly that are not, but you know that they have their provocateurs. You've seen it in Quebec City a few years ago, and there were documentaries made by 9/11 Truth Toronto about that, where the cops dressed up like protesters and, started, it's like a false flag. It's putting the name on the on the opponent, and let's go attack. And so I think that it might be, there's so many options that they have, but unless, because we're going to keep it peaceful. I do believe that we keep it peaceful. That's what we're there for until we get provoked. But what they're doing is they're telling different cities, like I was listening to on the radio, London and Ontario here, they're telling them, you got to get out in BC, one of those cities that is out in BC. Now, I'm not sure if it was Vancouver. It could be due mistake if I haven't got my information correct. But that they're telling them, you got to get out, and it's right now. So I don't know what to think of all that. I do know that we're trying to get that statement out and make our voices heard. Radio stations like this keep information, like Master of Many Things talks about it every 10 minutes of mayhem every day at 7:45. So we're covering it. I don't know what to expect from the government side of things, because they can turn on the heat any second now, right?
Yes, sir. I totally agree with that. And also, I just, I want to touch base with people that probably know a little more about everything than I do. And yes, I appreciate that, sir.
No doubt, no doubt. And I have not more information than yourself other than what I hear here at Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com. I tune into those live streams from Toronto and stuff, and I would like to go. The only, I'm a family man. That's the only dilemma that I have, is I have family to support, and I've got dogs, and I've got this and that, and yeah, it's all good and fine and dandy to give everything up for that, but you have to look at it realistically. Is a lot of words going around where these people that were out there were people who, let's say college students, let's say people who didn't have jobs to go to and stuff, and so it was nothing to worry about. These were the low level, bottom of the barrel type folk of our industry, of our society, and I don't want to agree with that. I mean, that's a horrible statement to make, because I do believe that whoever's out there really cares about their friends, really cares about their people and their enemy, and they really care about everybody, that we need to stop this. That's why they're there. Jobs don't matter at the end of the day, because half of your money is going to taxes anyway. I don't know, you said you're from the States. You probably get taxed a lot more than we do here in Ontario, but I mean, I have a lot of things going right now that I can't just break off, and I think that's what they depend on. Right? They depend on a lot of people who are working folk. They're not going to be at these protests, and so that's why they host the protests, march on Saturday, when there can get a lot more people out there. So during the week, you have just the diehards that are really there, setting up tents. There's a park, St. James Park here in Toronto. They've got over 600 tents. They did a count, and so there are people out there, people doing their thing. I tip my hat off to them, being out there in the cold and the rain, and it started off in Toronto raining, and it was been raining for like 10 days, and they kept coming, the people kept coming, and you learn techniques when you get together with people to protest. You learn techniques on how to think and how to rationalize things, and when you're out there and you're fighting for your freedom, you start really taking a step back and saying, wow, I've been taking advantage of everything that I've had up to this point, or, so to speak, I haven't really looked at it, and now, I'm out here, sleeping out here, fighting for the cause. It brings a new perspective to things, no doubt.
Indeed, yes, sir, it does, and that's I just, all right, I will let you go, and I want to say thank you for, I had no idea that reach quite to Canada and quite as bad there, so well, thank you, sir, for the insight, and I appreciate it, man.
Cool. Are you from our chat room here?
No, I haven't quite joined into all that yet, but I have been quite a faithful fan to the Revolution Radio. And I appreciate what you guys are doing.
You should come check out the chat room, because half of the things that we say here, half of the things that get spoken in the chat room get said on air because there's just too much information. So if you want to stay, up to date with the Occupy movement, join us at that chat room, and you can speak with like-minded people. You can choose a name. You can be anonymous if you want, and just go back and forth. You get links. You want to find out about what's going down in Ohio, you can figure that out, because half of the things that get said in the chat room get said on air. So I do encourage that, sir, and I greatly appreciate the call.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Great. All right. And I do encourage the calls. That's what we're all about here at Revolution Radio. That was the first thing he said. You encourage the calls and the opinions, and you couldn't be more dead on, because the minute we start cutting people because we don't want to hear what they have to say, you lose sense of what we're all trying to do here. And yeah, we get callers who are trying to attack, and we get callers who are here to play games and mess around, and we don't need to go into names because we all know who he is. We get people like that, but other than that, what it brings is a lot of truth and a lot of opinions, and we have to encourage that, because the minute we stop doing that, we become them. And people want me to tell them about the UFOs that I've seen. So we can go into that for sure here at Revolution Radio. Phenomenal E.T.s at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Thursdays, and we're going till 10 p.m. when the market report starts with none other than The Crow in our chat room. And I think I might be able to sneeze right now. It's been killing me for the past minute, and I just got to put my microphone on mute when that sneeze comes. But it's right there. It wants to come out. UFO experiences that I have had, you know what? After speaking with a lot of people, they get you thinking that they're not UFOs. They're man-made. They're craft. We built that stuff. Come on. They get you thinking. Now, what that does is it starts my critical thinking, and it starts me evaluating everything that I've seen. And I start to lean towards, well, of course, I cannot believe that everything that I have seen is off-world. If I'm going to be so blunt as to say that there is life out there, and because of the technology that I see in the air, then there most certainly has to be that technology here. If I'm going to think about one extreme, I have to think about what we are capable of. And yeah, I don't think that we're ever close to their technology, ninth dimensions and what have you, but we do have similar technology. And I know I was speaking with somebody from our chat room here earlier who was out near the Vegas area, who sees a lot of UFO sightings. They're test facilities. They're testing things. They want to test them where there's the least amount of people. And of course, 5 or 6 people from this town and 30 from that town all come out with, we've seen a UFO, and they pointed all at the same object, and they describe it all as the same thing. And yeah, they've seen my guest Clifford said, identify a flying object. They know what they've seen. They see something in the sky, and it's good. It's there. But, only those 34 people, yeah, it gets a little bit of news coverage. That local news channel comes out there, investigates, talks to two people who look good on camera, and throw their story out. But that's all it gets. It gets like a minute and a half, 2-minute time slot, and then they move on to the next biggest important bankster fraud out there, whatever's on the next up, or the weather fraud that they've been talking about and not talking about, rather. So it's basically it gets swept under the carpet, and that's what is happening a lot nowadays, and that's okay. Because when you sort of look to these mainstream media, when you look to the government for help, you're never going to get it. You have to look to small little platforms and get the word out, community group meetings, and talk to people and talk to friends and get the word out that you've seen UFOs. And if you really care about it, of course, if that's not on your plate of interest, then, But it's mine, and whenever I see somebody who I feel is interested in that kind of topic, I tell them what I've seen. And I've seen the most extraordinary things in the sky. And my first encounter with them was about 3-4 years ago, and it was just star-like ships. They looked like stars, all moving in the sky. There were 3 of them in the shape of a triangle, a perfect triangle, 100% perfect. And I watched it for about 12 seconds, somewhere around that vicinity, moving across the sky from east to west. And they didn't change their direction solely. One of the stars or objects didn't change. They stayed in that formation of that triangle. Now, ran back home and I was screaming like a girl. I didn't know what I seen. It was pretty incredible. And I checked the internet, and I was new to the internet at that point, so I didn't know that there was this many platforms out there, and then you could find out what you seen. So for about a month, here I am, dots in the sky and lights in the sky moving triangle shapes, and nothing had come out for me until one night A&E had an episode of Paranormal Activity, and this is my claim to fame, is when that show had aired, I had just got home and I missed the episode, and I was, oh, no way, they're not replaying it. No, incredible, I can't believe it. And what the show had done is Paranormal State went to the E.T.s ranch. James Gilliland, who I've had on this show, who I was speaking about, they went to his ranch and they have tried to debunk him. Of course, all these television shows always have to bring their debunkers on. And they went out there and they filmed exactly what I seen in my skies here in Toronto, Canada. And immediately after I was able to get that episode, I mean, I had to wait for the next day for somebody to upload it on YouTube or what have you. Finally seen the episode. I called Mr. Gilliland. He called me back immediately, and he basically had told me, sorry, we're closed for the winter, because it was towards October, and that sneeze is, oh, it's killing me. Towards October, he said, so we're closed. And I went, what do you mean you're closed? Well, basically, it's a ranch, and they have thousands of people go out there, and they stay on their big field that they have. They call it the Field of Dreams. They set up in campers and tents and what have you, and they have to close down for the winter because they prepare for harsh winters up there in Washington. And it's better to not have guests coming in and out. I mean, thousands of people coming in, they got to put a stop to it at some point and sort of, get a hold of their bearings and, get grounded. And so they cut off visitors to the ranch. So I was begging on my hands and knees to James, please let me come down with Joanne, my wife. And so I assumed he was, he just, okay, stop harassing me. You can come down here. And, bing, bang, boom. There I was about a week later, driving out to Washington on the West Coast to see these things. And that's how convicted I was with my own personal sighting of UFOs. I mean, I am a kind of knee-jerk reaction kind of guy. I'll plan like I did the other night. Let's just go and drive the furthest north that we can drive until we can't tolerate it no more. Just to sit down and be, in a car where you can't really be without your partner and just sit down and get to chilling together, Sometimes you can do it when you're watching movies and stuff, but you're concentrating on the TV. While here you're in a car and you're traveling, you're experiencing the wilderness. And we really went up there. We really went far, far north, 700 kilometers north. So that's what we did for these last 2 days. And we like doing those spontaneous things. So we went out to the West Coast. We slept in the minivan. It was pretty fun. It took 2 days to get there. It was 4,500 kilometers one way, 9,000, just over 9,000 total. It took us 2 days to get there, about 2.5 days, 2 oil changes, incredible. We got out there. I was validated in what I've seen out here. It was within 5 minutes, spotted 2 unidentified flying objects chasing each other around the North Pole, North Star, rather. Just do a complete 180. Now, they were chasing each other, they were having fun or doing something, but that's the first experience I had when I got to the Yosemite Ranch. And from that moment on, my eyes did not leave the sky. I didn't care about what was going on the ground no more. When you start experiencing extraterrestrial craft, and I mean not of this world, off-world craft, and I say that because I believe that what I've seen is off-world, because why would our government be so caught up in making these and then going out across the world and faking alien invasions all over the planet for 50 years and not just coming straight out with it? These are extraterrestrial crafts, and when you start looking up at these things, you forget. You don't forget. You want to forget. You absolutely want to forget about this planet and the kind of hatred and the kind of animosity that you've witnessed and seen, and the kind of die-hard, cutthroat game that we play with each other. It's just incredible, and how much the system has messed up our minds. You want to leave this planet. You want to experience something that is better than this. You don't know what's up there. I mean, it's just a thought. Maybe they could be so malevolent and they want to, kill us all and turn us into dog chow. We don't know that. I got the feeling from one of the, few of these crafts that I got this feeling of love. And maybe, people can say, oh, well, the government has the technology to make you feel suicidal, make you feel this, make you feel that. And okay, maybe they do. Maybe they have that technology, HARP, and they can transmit signals to my brain, and we get into the MK Ultra stuff, and we get into nonsense like that. Or maybe these beings that are coming here are really coming in peace and love and bliss, and they show you that by communicating with you and giving you that feeling that they love to for you to spot them, to see them, and you get that overwhelming joy feeling across your body, and you don't get that fear or that, that scared, oh, what is this alien craft doing here? Maybe it's their technology, maybe it's our government's. I'm not saying I don't know what it is, but those are the feelings that I've received when I've seen some of these craft. And we'll get into more of the things that I've seen. I mean, it's just incredible. And that was just my first experience of UFOs, because once you kept looking up, it got a lot more interesting. And we'll definitely get into that after we get to my caller here, a Mad Painter. You're on the air, bud. How you doing?
Howdy. I'd just like to tell you about my first experience with a UFO.
Go
It
ahead.
happened like 35 years ago. I was in the Navy. We were off the coast of Bimini, about 150, 200 miles, and I was standing lookout watch. A light come over the horizon, and it passed completely over from one horizon to the other in less than 15 minutes. I reported the object. They called Washington to make sure it wasn't a satellite, and they had no idea what it was.
Wow.
That's my first experience with a UFO,
Well,
and
how
I've
long
been
ago
a
was
nut
that?
ever since. It's been about 35 years ago. It was in the early 70s.
Wow. And ever since then, have you been curious? Have you spotted anything else? Or
A few things over the Great Lakes. I'm from up there by near Toronto, a place called Tonawanda, New York. It's right on between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario.
Oh, cool.
It's not too far from you.
A lot of us are from this whole area. Acid from our chat room, and a whole bunch of people, the last caller. But go on, yeah.
I live in the South now, but when I did live up there, we used to see all kinds of lights over Lake Ontario all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And it brings in the question of what are these things, and how come we get to see them, others don't, and why are they trying to show themselves? And what's the whole point of this? They still got us hustling, bustling, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 now. They're changing the shifts. They're 5 days a week in us and trying to put the overtime shifts on all of us and overworking us, letting people off, letting people go, closing down factories, overworking other people. They still got us working like crazy. So what are the point of extraterrestrials coming down to Earth if we're not seeing a kind of benefit to it, like on a global scale. I mean, I love seeing them. They do wonders for me, but I don't see the benefits of them coming down just yet.
No, I don't either myself.
Yeah.
I think the government's kind of keeping it from us, don't want us to know because of certain things that
Maybe
would
they have a
diminish their control.
Maybe they have a plan with the government, or they can't reveal themselves on a global scale. I don't know. It's just too many questions, but at least we're asking the questions, right?
At least the questions are being asked now more openly than they were 15, 20 years ago. It used to, as soon as you mentioned UFOs, you was considered a nut.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. And my mother had said, well, when I was growing up, there was always this talk of revolution. There was always this talk of down with the government and extraterrestrials. And she had talked about it all. She says, I've been through that era. And look at me now, son. She's 56, 55. So nothing has happened. She goes, you're just, and she didn't want to put me down. She says, you're just another one like them. And there will be more like you, and nothing will ever come, and you will have wasted your whole life worrying about things you can't.
Things are being changed, though, by just us being here together in a group.
That's what I told her. I go, Mom, we didn't have this 30, 40 years ago. You know, this kind of platform right here where I could speak to you in Ohio or wherever you're from. Sorry, the last caller was from Ohio. Wherever you're from, I could speak to you through the computer, and we can broadcast to thousands of people, host a room where hundreds of people can talk back and forth, share a whole bunch of it. We're getting smarter. We're getting lazier, but we're getting smarter.
It used to take months just to convey a message from one end of the country to the other in the type format we're in now. Now you do it instantaneously all around the world.
Yeah. We're moving to that human 2.0, I believe. I don't know. A lot of us are being forced into it to our unwilling knowledge, and I believe that if you pay attention to what's going on around you, you could take advantage of really getting that information out, whatever it is, you know, and really progressing. You know, it doesn't have to be about UFOs. It could be about this Wall Street protest. You know, this kind of information 30 years ago, like you said, would have taken a month to get across the country. You know, who knows? So the word's getting out there. So now what do we do with it?
That's the key.
Yeah. What do we do? I mean, we're talking about it. It's good. I encourage it. Come join us, freedomslips.com, and express your thoughts. It's good, but at the end of the day, we're going to have to come to some sort of agreement that we can't just talk. We're going to have to start doing sometime. And when we do that, then we become the change we want to see. You know, be the change. Yeah.
Everybody's looking towards a leader, somebody to look up to and to take control, and that's not what's happening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now this Obama issue, and if he's going to be reelected, and then all the other scandals going on when one party accuses another party, and all the stuff that goes along with these votes, and it's just a whole debacle. I think we need to be done with it and start thinking for the people, like this Occupy movement is doing. Work for the people. Start doing that, you know.
Well, this Occupy movement's got a lot of people that are supporting it that really shouldn't be supporting it. You got the Communist Party, the American Nazi Party, the Revolutionary Communist Party. I mean, these kind of people are not who you want
Back
coming out forward saying, speaking for the people.
Yeah. Their St. James Park is at the St. James Church in Toronto, and they said, the church said, if you need a place to run, you're more than welcome to come into the church. And I mean, I don't want to be involved with religion, and I don't knock it because I hate pointing fingers and calling it, you know. I just want to be absolved of any groups and just start thinking for the people. And I don't want to be connected with the church or be connected with this bank or this politician or this party, and think for the people. You know?
I don't think the churches are much better than the government, truthfully. I mean, I'm not really what you call a religious person, but I don't see much difference in between them.
Yeah, I grew up as a kid, and I was sent to a foster home because my parents couldn't get along, and the system wanted nothing more than to get me in and to cause more ruckus in my life, and they couldn't work it out between my mother wanted to keep me, and my father wanted to keep me, and the system said, no way, we're going to keep him, we're going to make the dollars. So I had the counselors, I had all that stuff, sent me to a foster home, and these people were very religious, and I don't regret any moment of my life. It was all experience, and it was great, but there was a lot of church, and it got me my first communion and all those steps to become, I don't even know what it's called, to become a part of the Christian church. And but as a kid, you couldn't embrace it as much as you could realistically as an adult, and therefore you were forced into coming to church. Go down to Sunday school, or, you know, name me a kid that really loved being in a church and reading from a Bible. I mean, it wasn't so fun. So
there isn't too many that voluntarily go, is there?
That's it. But as a kid, I did what I was told because that was the right thing to do, and you made do with what you had. So you made fun with it, but it was, I got to go to church. Well, my nephew and niece, they're Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're starting to become to that age where it's not as fun as it used to be anymore, because I'd rather be doing funner things as a kid. Well, they got that system indoctrinated in folks who are religious, and I mean, I'm not bashing, of course not. You can never talk about one's experience and the negative effect in the sense it's just an experience, and you have, yeah.
We are what we experience. We're a product of what we have experienced in the past.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't like to look down on people, and I think all the more of them when I feel that they're trying to do something with their life, and it may not be in agreements with myself, but it's 100% promoted because it's doing what you want to do, and I promote that. So, but yes, religion has gotten a lot of people messed up and not for the church as much, or not just the church, but any religion, and a lot of atheists, you know, and what have you, and a lot of people don't even care about the religion.
I'm spiritual now, I'm just not religious. There's a difference.
Yeah, I believe there's a huge difference, because spirituality is global. It has nothing to do with any specific one religion. It has to do with your inner self, exploring the higher vibrational consciousness you can experience. And
I've always considered myself a spirit having a human experience, not a human that has a spirit.
Yeah, good point.
Well, I said what I wanted to say, and I just want to let you know I sure enjoy your show. You have a good evening, and thank you.
Thank you for calling in. Greatly appreciate the call. All right, that was a Mad Painter here from our chat room. I don't really see him too much because I used to be at the bottom of our chat room, so I would always look at who's my closest friend below or beside me there, and a Mad Painter's right at the top there, so I never knew that he was in our chat room until a few days ago, and I feel foolish because I got to get to know these like-minded people that come to our chat room at freedomslips.com. And, you know, so it gives me a chance to get to know them when they call in. And that's what we encourage here. So if you'd like to call in, we've got another 8 minutes, actually. So you got to hurry it up if you'd like to call in before the Crow Report at 347-688-2902. That is 347-688-2902. And the market report, like I said, is coming in about 7-8 minutes. I haven't seen Crow in our chat room today. I do not know where he has been. I've been in the chat room, and I haven't heard him compliment on how much of a good guy I've been. I think I got more than I bargained for in our chat room as a little inside joke, but I haven't seen him, so he should be here. What is the Crow Report? Volsto wants to know. Well, the Crow is a market analysis, and he deals with the market. And he is not an advisor or anything, and he doesn't give you predictions on what to put your money on or anything, but he is an analysis. He has his own website. He also posts his own weekly report here at freedomslips.com. At the main page, you'll see the crow's nest, and you can visit that and check that out. Just getting here, or anything. Nope, I am good. Nope, I am good. The station just wants to know if they want to run a station ID. I mean, if you all want to hear station ID or me ramble on till 10 p.m., then we can do that, and I am down for it. I haven't been able to talk to many people other than my wife the past few days. Like I said, I took that crazy trip. Now, one thing that gets me is these little towns here. I mean, it was a pretty big town. It had like 20 motels, but they're industrial towns. Let me say, the employees, they go up there. It's a mining town, and they go there and they stay in motels from Monday to Thursday or Friday, however long their week is, and then they go back to their house during the weekend. So me and Joanne, we went up there on Tuesday night, assuming we would get a spot in the town of Timmins. Being called Tim my whole life, I said, well, that's a pretty good spot to go. Let me go to Timmins. So I figured it was 110 kilometers, about 65 miles off the beaten trail that I wanted to go to. I wanted to go to Cochrane. So I said, no, you know what, I'll hang a left and we'll go over to Timmins. So we went there, and lo and behold, we get there and no motel available. Packed to the brim. Companies, hydro companies, police cars, people staying up there. I mean, it was a ghost town, I guess, on any other occasion, but for these workers, these mining, this is about mining and lumber country. So it was pretty late at night, and I've been driving for about 9 hours, so I was really fed up. I let the wife know it, and no doubt. Finally, we decided to go to the next town over, the next available motel, which was another hour drive. So I was a pretty cool guy to get along with there that Tuesday night. But we finally got a hotel room in one of the furthest towns northeast of Ontario. In fact, the furthest town, because everything else is just little hamlets of non-commercialized places, and it's all hunters and native Indians. So the major town right there would have been Cochrane. So we got up there 12 p.m. at night, and finally found a hotel room, and it cost $200, $208 for the night. Executive suite with a heated floor in the bathroom, but that was about it. There was no specialties in this room. Huge ass TV was pretty cool, but $200 out in the middle of nowhere, I guess they can get it. So that's what they did. Anyway, so that was my trip, and then I ended up coming back the next day, and I think the Crow is ready to go. Adulation. Now that's a new word for myself, so maybe the Crow can explain. Oh, you see now the Crow, see, there's a difference. I'm always looking down at the bottom of our chat room here for because that's the Crow's name, but he's right up beside me here, right above me actually here, and I guess I'm called an operator, a moderator, whatever, and he's right beside me up here, so he is here tonight, so do not mind my last couple of thoughts about Crow. I love that guy. So he is going to be here in 3 minutes here for the daily market report. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. So yeah, I took a night out there to go crazy driving. Came all the way back and enjoyed every minute of it. And although I did have a tiff, and I was just pretty mad. Everything happens for a reason at the end of the day. So it was pretty cool. Got to have a great time, and came back to do this wonderful interview with Clifford Clift on the phenomenal E.T.s show here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, and you can always visit my guest who was on earlier. His website is MUFON.com, just as it said, MUFON. MUFON.com. And my guest next Monday, because we're doing special episodes of the Phenomenal E.T.s because we have an overage of guests, will be Steve Beckow, and he will be on the 14th of November. And that's Steve Beckow of stevebeckow.com. Visit his website. He'll be on 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then next Thursday, I will have Joe of the pyramidcenter.com. Do check out, the pyramidcenter.org. Do check out those websites. Joe will be, I would assume, he deals with Kundalini yoga, chakra points, and all that kind of cool stuff. So he will be with us, and maybe we'll talk about some extraterrestrials on the Phenomenal E.T. show. So like I said, momentarily we will have the Crow in here at Revolution Radio, so do stand by for his report. Sorry, my microphone was muted.
Live on Revolution Radio, bringing you the tips and insights you'll need to keep one step ahead of the trade floor. It's the Don of the Dow, the master of the market, the sultan of stocks, Clifford.